5 things that happened to me after being kidnapped and gang raped in Dubai that were somehow even worse than what originally happened to me. Number 1, after immense pressure from the authorities to drop the case, I then had a fabricated alcohol charge against me and was actually jailed. Number 2, the families of the kidnappers harassed me repeatedly, threatened me, told me to drop the case, including one of their relatives who is a practicing doctor in Germany, and the police failed to protect me against them. Number 3, when I went on The Apprentice, I was forced to give up my worldwide anonymity. There's a whole story there. Number 4, the taxi driver, when he testified in court to confirm that the men had physically dragged me off the street in JBR when they kidnapped me, and that he'd received 150 dirhams to look the other way, came in and testified in his taxi uniform, so he hadn't even been fired for doing that to me. And number 5, the government hospital Al Rashid refused to treat me and left me lying on the floor, injured, battered, and broken for 9 hours, until eventually my friend started screaming and they sent someone to investigate what was going on.
Hi guys, my name is Natalie, aka DJ NB, aka Scatly 2.0, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So Dubai has sold you the dream: luxury apartments, the influencer lifestyles, the tax-free wealth, the boss babe paradise. But what if that dream isn't real? Welcome back to part 3 in this mini-series of Hating on Dubai. That's a joke. But I have entitled this video, Dubai Boss Babe Life is Fake. This isn't about scaremongering, this isn't about crashing out just because I'm a non-UAE resident, and it isn't about putting people off if they do want to go there. It's about context, because if you're going to be sold a lifestyle, you deserve to understand the entire picture, especially against a backdrop of Western women in particular navigating a completely different cultural and legal landscape.
Privilege is a huge factor as to why I got a conviction against kidnappers and men who essayed me in Dubai. Let me explain. We know from the recent situation with Iran lengths that the UAE will go to protect and preserve their reputation from a public relations standpoint. So a case where a British woman is forcibly kidnapped from JBR while using an ATM, having stepped out of a government taxi, and the taxi driver is subsequently bribed to look the other way, and the kidnappers take this woman at home, film their horrendous attack. Yes, it makes sense for them to deal with that case, as they should, and convict the monsters that did this. If they didn't, it would have been a PR nightmare, because the headlines would have read, British women kidnapped from taxis in JBR. Now, I didn't realise this at the time. In my idealistic mindset, I thought this was indicative of a desire for deeper reform within the Emirates. But now, of course, I'm older, wiser, and a touch more cynical. I have concluded that, in fact, it was not necessarily entirely about me as a victim, though it may have been partially, let's say 5%, but generally it was just to preserve their own reputation. But these cases are happening to women of colour all the time in the Emirates. They're happening to domestic housemaids. They're happening to African women that have been trafficked. But where are the headlines? Because women of colour and sexual assault cases are treated very differently in the media. It's like white woman syndrome. When a white woman goes missing, there's media outcry and public searches. But when it happens to Indigenous women or women of colour in every other country, there is no public outcry. So I speak out about this because this isn't just me. This isn't just my case. It's about all women. It's about all cases of women who don't get justice. And that really pisses me off. So I will continue to speak out about it until violence and sexual violence against women and girls is addressed. And until countries everywhere in the world, not just the Emirates, stop sweeping it under the rug and start treating women fairly, equally, and with the support, the rights, the compassion, and the convictions that they deserve.
In part 1, we looked at the viral reactions, influencers crashing out because of the missile threats due to the Israeli, US, and Iranian war, and the reality of conflicts crossing over borders into what is supposed to be a safe haven.
Look at this. That is the Fairmont Hotel in Dubai. Oh my god. Oh my god.
In part 2, we broke down the data, how war, instability, and global tensions are already hitting the investments, the property market, and Dubai's growth story. And today I'm going to be spilling the tea. I'm going to be sharing the goss, because today I'm going to be talking about the lifestyles and the realities behind the luxury glossy branding and the skyline, because these stories didn't make it onto the glossy Instagram and TikTok reels, and if they did, it hasn't been for a good reason. I am going to be talking about tourists and expats facing serious jail time for minor incidences, which would be considered negligible or common sense in Western territories. However, instead, severe penalties are served. Over 70 tourists, expats, and even cabin crew have reportedly been detained, not for violent crimes, but for something as simple as sending or receiving missile and drone footage in Dubai. Under Dubai laws, which are designed to protect national security, people can face up to 10 years in prison. Some have been held in overcrowded cells, denied basic needs, and waiting months just to be charged.
Up to 70 Brits have been detained in the UAE for filming Iranian drone and missile attacks. Those accused are being held in overcrowded police cells and could face up to 10 years in prison for breaching laws on national security and stability, with some reportedly being denied sleep, food and medicine. The Gulf state prohibits publishing or sharing material that could disturb public security.
I'm surprised by the reaction of some of you. John in Wales, stop feeling sorry for these idiotic Brits in Dubai. When will Brits learn to respect the laws in other countries? Les in Buckinghamshire, if you go to these countries, you abide by their rules. When you're in the same room as a bear, you don't poke it with a stick. Jonathan in Deal, the UAE is a place where people might be maimed or even executed for crimes that would carry a prison sentence in the UK. Don't expect kind treatment for breaking their laws. Listen, if all these people have done, in some instances, is when their apartment block's been hit by a rocket, they've taken a photograph. Are you honestly telling me, and God forbid that was to happen in the UK, or let's just say for the purpose of debate, a lorry now ploughs into your front garden, whatever it might be. It's human nature. You're going to take a photograph. If these Brits, as some of you describe, these Brits who aren't respecting local laws, running international spy networks, I could understand it. And even, although I don't hold with it, but if they were suddenly to start, I don't know, influencer channels, say the truth of Dubai, again, I wouldn't back it, but I could understand that all they've done is take a photograph for their own personal use. They've not sent it to friends or family back in the UK. They've not used it on an influencer site, and they've still been nicked. If you call that obeying local laws, no, that's censorship.
Lindsay, what has life been like in the prison since war broke out? Have you been treated any differently?
There are those that support the action, support the war, perhaps support the British, and there's those that don't, and it's bringing out the Iranian nationalism, so it's quite difficult. It's my perception that I think there is more animosity towards the British, and that being me, than there was before the war. So I made my peace with death within maybe 48 hours of the reality of the bombs hitting and the fact that we could be struck, and that I've led a good life.
It's, since the war, it's the tensions within the salon here have, heightened, and I was snoozing earlier and got woken up by yet another fight, so the fights are becoming daily. With
rising anti-West sentiment in the prison, do you get the sense that that is growing and you could well be a target?
Could be. You never know. Like I say, you can't predict the war, and you can't predict what's going to happen within these wars.
Breaking news, a 20-year-old French citizen has just been detained in Dubai after being stopped by the police for taking a video of a building that had just been hit by a drone. The video was shared to his parents on WhatsApp privately and was not shared publicly. This comes after multiple people have been charged under UAE cybercrime law in relation to missile footage. Another person detained in Dubai over a video. Residents in Dubai survive a drone strike and an explosion in their apartment, now detained for sharing a photo to their family to let them know that they are okay. A Russian, Canadian and German resident survived a drone strike. In the immediate aftermath, a photo was sent to the family to show that they were alive and to show what just happened to them. But under UAE cybercrime laws, even taking a photo and sharing a photo privately can lead to criminal charges. So many people have already been charged in Dubai, and many more are being investigated for simply sharing footage of the strikes. Cases like this show how a split-second instinct, while fearing for your life, can spiral into a devastating legal nightmare.
Dubai's economy relies on its reputation as a dream destination, and mandatory licensing rules mean every advertiser or creator based there must hold a valid permit to post promotional content. While no legal action has been taken against anyone so far, the Dubai Media Office criticised misleading, outdated videos and images of past fire incidents that had been posted online. And Dubai police repeated that those posting rumours, misinformation, contradictions to official announcements, or anything causing public panic during times of crisis could face 2 years in prison and a minimum fine of £40,000. One influencer came out to refute accusations that she was paid for her viral video. She said that Dubai does pay her. It pays her in business, safety, connections, and weather. But while a lot of influencers tell a story of safety, the wealthy are doing whatever it takes to flee. Some travelers are heading out of Dubai to Oman or Riyadh, where companies are claiming the cost of private jet flights have spiraled into the hundreds of thousands. And one private jet company who posted on social media offering private flights when Dubai's airspace opens said they were inundated by hundreds of requests from people trying to leave the country.
So how do local Emiratis treat the expatriate victims seeking legal help? Victims face systemic obstacles and can be pressured by local authorities to drop their case and can potentially lead to a fabricated allegations by an accuser, such as a false alcohol charge, which most people in Dubai know if alcohol is consumed in a non-designated area or out in public, this could lead to a prison sentence. Lack of protection. There are cases of failed police protection of victims from harassment and threats by perpetrators and their associates. Institutional neglect, where the government hospitals refuse to treat injuries, showing a case of medical and clinical negligence and causing potential harm. Prioritisation of reputation justice is often contingent upon privilege, which means that it's plausible that convictions are pursued only to avoid a PR nightmare, whereas similar crimes against non-Emirati individuals, such as women of colour, domestic workers or labourers, often receive little to no justice or public outcry. This can be seen as a form of legal entrapment. Expatriates can be held liable in absentia or face imprisonment for civil disputes over minor infractions, with little opportunity to present evidence or appeal, as highlighted by the case of Selena Waterman-Smith. So before I go into this very interesting case, it's really important that we find out a little bit more about cheque bouncing. So in Dubai, cheques are still widely used for rent, business deals and loans. So legally, a cheque is treated like guaranteed money. Before 2022, this could lead to a criminal offence if you issue a cheque that happens to bounce subsequently. This could lead to arrest, jail time or police cases. So after 2022, when there have been legal reforms over this, most cases now are civil offences, not criminal, with a shift of a focus to debt recovery instead of punishment. However, serious consequences still exist. These fines go to the state and you still owe the full debt separately. So you're hit with double charges. So with Selena Waterman-Smith and her ordeal and her case in Dubai, there was a situation where the courts made a judgment against her while she was absent and wasn't in UAE. And high-profile cases that reveal how strict and unforgiving the Dubai legal systems can be.
Selena Waterman-Smith in happier times.
It's just got a whole lot tougher.
In 2015, she starred in The Apprentice.
Welcome, Claude.
But now says she's been scammed by a former business partner in Dubai and could go to jail.
It's absolutely horrifying that a man who already has a history, or already have a police complaint against him, that he can go and enter a false testimony without any evidence and cause this level of damage. Like, it's terrifying. This entire case is preposterous and there's no evidence. And it just proves to me that when a man wants to abuse a woman, he can do it.
This story begins in Dubai 2018, when a working relationship broke down. Selena then became an extortion target by a man who'd promised to invest in her business. And when she was out of the country, he went to a United Arab Emirates court claiming she owed him £27,000. And in her absence, they sided with the man.
The UAE is supposed to be a safe space for female entrepreneurs, but what protections are there in place for women like me when men seem to abuse me and the system.
With her passport confiscated, Selena fears she could be sent to prison at any moment and says her life is now a living hell.
And whatever he wants to do, there are just no consequences for him. So of course I'm terrified because he's managed to get one case through the court with no evidence and cause this much damage to my life. How do we know what he's going to do next?
For the campaign group detained in Dubai, Selena's situation is not new.
All this is an extremely common issue for expats in the UAE. The fact that she had a judgment against her in absentia is extremely common, and most people in that situation are actually arrested when they arrive back in the UAE, and then they won't have the opportunity to appeal. So it can leave people facing imprisonment without even having been able to present their evidence in court.
So what happens next?
I'm just in limbo. I'm in complete limbo. There is no help for you as a woman if something goes wrong in this part of the world.
From boardroom justice, Selena is now fighting for her own freedom.
Show me the evidence.
On her own. Rags Martel, ITV News.
With information provided by the humanity group detained in Dubai, judgments made in absentia are an extremely common issue for expatriates in UAE. Individuals can be treated by legal claims such as a business dispute or extortion, which I think is definitely part of Selena's case. I could even go as far as saying that this process functions as a form of legal entrapment because there's a lack of due process, immediate risk of arrest, and systemic abuse. This highlights that this legal environment allows individuals to file false testimony without evidence to cause significant damage to others and creating a situation where there is no help for those caught in these disputes. Now, Selena Waterman-Smith has been stuck in UAE with a travel ban for 2 years without a bank account or medical insurance and has a blocked trade license, which means that she can no longer run her business, and a soon-to-be cancelled residency visa, leaving her in a really precarious situation. Despite there being little to no evidence and no check being issued, the court has refused to grant an appeal, claiming that his testimony is sufficient, and due to national laws, they are unwilling to overturn the original decision by the judge. Her legal team has tried repeatedly to negotiate with the other party, but this has been declined repeatedly. Seemingly, this ex-business partner has gloated over his actions. Selena Waterman-Smith claims that there has been times in the last 2 years where she has suffered from extreme depression and she can't see any other way of escaping this abuse. There seems to be a power imbalance where her ex-business partner seems to be liking this pursuit to destroy a strong woman. A man so brazen about his threats, harassments and committing fraud is a real danger to this business and to Selena, and potentially other female victims. So in simple terms, in Dubai, a bounce check isn't just about missed payment. It can lead to court action, frozen assets, and even a travel ban that stops you leaving the country. In Dubai, a bounce check isn't just a missed payment. It turns into a serious legal situation. After the law changes in 2022, when most cases became civil, the consequences were still severe. If a check bounces, the person you owe money to can go straight to the court, your bank account is frozen, your salary is deducted, and in some cases you can even be hit with a travel ban. So this is a little bit like the Anna Delvey case and her obsession with check kiting, which is a form of financial fraud. Except in Dubai, instead of scandal and a prison sentence and seemingly a career in the creative industry afterwards, the consequences can hit immediately, trapping you in a system before you even had a chance to leave. Anna Delvey case refers to a high-profile fraud scandal in New York City involving Heiress. That's right, her surname Delvey is also fabricated. Her activities took place in 2013 to 2017. She was arrested in 2017 and was convicted in 2019. Anna Sorokin posed as a wealthy German heiress under the name Anna Delvey and targeted banks, luxury hotels, wealthy individuals, and friends and business contacts. She carried out a scheme similar to check kiting or financial fraud, which includes faking financial documents to secure loans, staying in luxury hotels without paying, convincing friends to cover expenses with promises of repayment, which never occurred, and attempting to secure a $22 million loan for a private members club.
How long could Anna keep her spending spree going? It would have been a power trip to have the staff know her personally and cater to her every whim. She would just charge everything to her room. They allowed these bills to rack up without having a working credit card for her on file. It was another unusual oversight that enabled Anna to defer the consequences of her spending. Meanwhile, she was simultaneously fobbing off anyone chasing her for money. City National Bank wanted to know where the $100,000 was to cover her overdraft. She repeatedly insisted the full amount had already been wired, providing fake statements as proof and trying to bide more time. A few days later, the 11 Howard received a payment. In a surprising move, Anna cleared her debt with them in its entirety. How? She had not managed to secure a loan or a new overdraft. Instead, she fell back on an age-old trick. During the second week of April, she wrote checks to herself totaling $160,000. Then she deposited them into an account she held with Citibank. Then she quickly withdrew as much money as she could before the checks bounced. She ended up with $70,000. This is extraordinary. I was confused by how easy Anna made this look. He explained to me how Anna took advantage of a float period. That's the time it takes for two banks to communicate between each other. The Federal Reserve is the middleman. Years ago, this process took days. Now it takes less than 24 hours, but that is all that someone like Anna needs. It seems crazy that this loophole exists. The UK has moved away from using paper checks, but they remain common in the US. Jason told me that banks weigh up what level of risk they are willing to take on, and so they figure it's worth some potential losses to retain older customers who still love using checks. So, theoretically, what is stopping you or I indulging in a bit of check bouncing or check kiting tomorrow? Well, for anyone with a normal life, this sort of deed is simply too high risk. It is totally traceable. You'd be caught. Your credit score would be ruined and you could be charged with a crime. But we know she missed her New York court appearance on the 5th of September 2017. There she was facing 3 counts of misdemeanor theft of services after 3 bill-skipping incidents had been linked to her. But after years of pulling the same tricks, Anna knew the police were finally on her tail. You may be thinking, how did she suddenly have the money to cross the country? The answer was by pulling one of her old tricks. She paid $15,000 of fake checks into an account she held with Signature Bank, withdrawing around half the sum before they bounced. Utter recklessness was still propelling her forward. With around $8,000 in her pocket, she went on another blowout trip as Anna Delvey. It was to be her last.
The girl has got some vim, I can give her that. Unlike the Dubai system where financial disputes like bounce checks can lead to immediate restrictions like travel bans, Anna Delvey's case took years to investigate, was handled through the criminal justice system after the fraud occurred. Anna Delvey's case in New York showed how financial deception plays out, but in Dubai, similar to financial issues, can lead to immediate legal consequences before things can escalate that far. So what happened to Anna Sorokin? In case you didn't know, she was found guilty of multiple charges including grand larceny and fraud. She was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison in Rikers, which is a high security prison in New York, and was ordered to pay restitution and fines. I guess the girl is hustling now because she's got all those restitutions to pay off. So, in context, the Dubai system, where financial disputes like a bounce check can lead to immediate restrictions, like a travel ban, in Anna Sorokin's case, it took years to investigate, was handled through the criminal courts after the fraud occurred.